Hello, welcome back to Mrs. Torres' YouTube channel. Coming at you from Mrs. Torres' house again. So if you hear any barking, I apologize. It's just my little puppies. Alright, so we are on page 8 in our notes packet. That is the back page. That means we're going to finish up this chapter today. So it says at the top here, what would you call this polygon? So take a look at polygon JLM or KLMJ. What would you call that? I would call it a kite. So today we are learning about properties of a kite. Here I added two, we'll come back to these. First, a kite has two pairs of congruent consecutive sides. Remember, that means next to each other. So that means in this diagram up here, JK is congruent to KL. LM is congruent to JM. In a kite, diagonals are perpendicular. Remember, that means we have 90-degree angles in here, right? And then one pair of opposite angles are congruent. That is always going to be the angles that the smaller diagonal touch. So this angle would be congruent to this angle. Because if you notice, this angle looks a lot bigger than this angle at the bottom. So there's no way these are ever going to be congruent. So it's always going to be these angles here. All right, two other things that I want to add to our list. The smaller diagonal is bisected. So that means these two are equal. This is being split in half. So the larger diagonal is bisecting the smaller diagonal. The larger diagonal also bisects the angles. So that means those two angles up there are congruent, and these two angles at the bottom are congruent. So that larger diagonal bisects two different things there. All right, let's put these into action here. So we've got a kite here, and we have the diagonals drawn in, and we're trying to find the side length of the kite. All right, so we notice that when the diagonals intersect, we've got a bunch of triangles that are formed here, right? Well, we also know that when diagonals are drawn in, they're perpendicular. So that means we have 4 right triangles formed here. Well, let's focus on UZY first. I'm just going to redraw a triangle UZY out here. There we go. So here's our right angle. That's where the diagonals intersect. So we've got U, Y, Z. And then as you can see, these sides are 12 and 12. All right, now we've got a right triangle, and we are trying to find the length of one of the sides. Well, good old Pythagorean theorem. We can't forget about him. 12 squared plus 12 squared equals, I'm just going to call this x. So equals x squared. Remember, the hypotenuse is C. And that is always across from our right angle, so that's what we're looking for. So we've got 144 plus 144 equals x squared. We add those up, we'll get 288 equals x squared. And we will just find the approximate length. So we're going to take the square root of both sides. So we need the square root of 288. That will give us approximately 17. So that means one of our sides, or two I should say, is 17. So that means ZY is 17. And remember, these are going to be equal or congruent. So that means XY is also 17. All right, the next triangle that I want to take a look at, we're going to need to find the other sides of this kite. So if we focus on X, U, W now, I'm going to redraw that one over here. So W, U, X. And this time we know WU is 20. We know XU is 12. And then here's our right angle. All right, well, it looks like we are looking for the hypotenuse again. So we've got 20 squared plus 12 squared equals x squared. And we'll go ahead and do our math. 400 plus 144 equals x squared. 544 equals x squared. And again, we'll just get the approximate answer. So in our calculators, we need to do the square root of 544. And that will give us 23.3. So that means these are 23.3. All right. Next one down here, we're going to talk about the angles. We're trying to find angle G and J in the diagram at the right. All right, so if we look at our properties of a kite, the two angles that we're given are these two angles here. So those are the ones that are going to be congruent. So we know that angle J is congruent to angle G. We just don't know what their measures are. So we've got to think, kind of take a step back. What else could we call a kite? Well, it has four sides, right? So it's a quadrilateral. So we know if we add up the measure of angle H, the measure of angle J, the measure of angle K, and the measure of angle G, we're going to get 360. And we know that these are congruent, so we'll just say that those are x. So we've got 132 plus 60 plus x equals 360, right? Even though it's a kite, we can still use those properties of a quadrilateral. All right, so we've got to combine some like terms here. We've got 192 plus 2x equals 360. If we take 360 and subtract 192, you'll get 168. And then divide both sides by 2. You're going to get x equals 84 degrees. So that means the measure of angle G equals the measure of angle J, which both equal 84 degrees. All right, that is it for today. Try that IXL that I assigned to you, and I'll see you next time.